Let's talk about micromanagement.
Ooh, in what aspect?
It says, is Scrum actually micromanagement in disguise? Hi everybody, thanks for joining us today. My name is Allison Renfro.
And I'm Michael Luchin.
And today we're going to discuss some of the common questions that we see about Scrum and Agile and implementing those processes and systems into the workplace. So stay tuned.
All right, so let's talk about some questions from the audience about Scrum. First off, I'd like to start with the first question, which is, what are some good ways to lead a sprint review meeting?
Ooh, this is so fun. So by sprint review, I'm assuming they're talking about a retrospective. And I love retrospectives like we talked about earlier. I think it's really fun to experiment with different ways to walk through retrospectives. Honestly, like a simple Google search will give you so many different tools and ideas. There are ways that you can add themes to it, like you can do pirate ships and different, like a sword and boxes of treasure and things like that, ways to like gamify it to make it a bit more fun and intriguing. But really, like when it comes down to it, you can add as much flavor and fun and spunk to it that you want to, make some visualizations, excuse me. But at the end of the day, it's just important to get the information out. So depending on the team and how comfortable they are with one another, you might start with making it a bit more fun and intriguing. I know that with teams that I spin up that are new, I will use Miro, previously real-time board, to visualize what I am expecting from them. And it helps them to follow along and add maybe like sticky notes or comments or things like that so that they feel more empowered to give the feedback that we're looking for. As time goes on and people get more comfortable with each other, we will stop using a tool like that and transition to the document that we're working in so that we can increase our speed throughout the meeting. They might not need the visual encouragement or the gamification to inspire them to be a part of the conversation. So I would say make it fun, but also really try to reach the goals that you're looking for. Make sure that you are celebrating people, celebrating wins, making note of things you want to keep doing moving forward, and changing the things that are harming you, harming your team and your progress. Let's talk about micromanagement.
Ooh, in what aspect?
It says, is Scrum actually micromanagement in disguise?
No, it is not. It might feel that way to some people, especially when you start seeing all these calendar events pop up on your calendar, like the daily stand-up and the sprint review and retrospective and sprint kickoff and all that. It's really a framework of process management, not people management, in order to cultivate and create the environment that helps teams be efficient and effective within that process. Taking a step further too, it kind of goes into is the Scrum Master role or the project or product manager, depending on your team, a micromanager? And I would say absolutely not. They are more of a coach role. They're ones who are trying to make sure that the process is running in a way and that the questions and the sprint reviews and the retrospectives are executed in a way that encourages team participation and encourages all the things to surface in a way that helps teams move efficiently forward. It can be really easy when you're setting up a Scrum process for the first time on your team to want to really dive into managing the process and executing the process. But the process is really only half the story of Scrum. The other half is you as that Scrum Master and how you actually facilitate that process and coach your team through the process of implementing it, rather than like saying we have to do this and that in order to be successful here. It's about getting to know your team both as a whole, but also as individuals, and understanding how to effectively work together. So Allison, one of the other questions we've got is, what are some common mistakes on a daily Scrum?
So daily Scrum meeting is that quick touch base with your entire team, giving updates on what they did the previous day, what they're working on today, and if they have blockers. Some common mistakes that I've seen is having those meetings last for a long time, right? It really should be under about 15 minutes. You shouldn't be hashing out really detailed plans and solving problems in those meetings. Those meetings are a touch point so that you as a PM or you as a fellow team member can pinpoint someone that you need to reach out to and problem solve with. If you need to unblock someone, you take that as an action item. If you need to have a conversation with someone, you take that as an action item. Too many times people try to solve problems in Scrum meetings. Quite honestly, that's not the goal of the meeting. The goal of the meeting is a touch point so that you can then go solve the problems at a separate time. The more time you spend in Scrum meetings, the more boring it will be for the people who don't have to solve problems in that instance.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times I've sat in a meeting and it's gone too long and I've just seen eyes glaze over, and I think it dilutes the value of the meeting if you don't kind of keep a control over the purpose of it. So Michael, one last question for you. What is your review of Agile management?
Having practiced it for, I would say, 4 or so years now, I'm a huge believer in Agile project management, which, to reiterate, Agile is the philosophy and the mindset of how you manage a project. Processes in toolkits, kind of like Scrum or Kanban or extreme programming, are ways to execute in service of that mindset. I think Agile project management is the best way to manage your projects. Anything that's large and complex, something that you can't see maybe more than a few weeks ahead, and has a lot of unknowns or just general knowledge development involved. I think Agile project management is really strong to be in service of finding those results. I can just add to that because I did practice waterfall project management on large software projects for a time before transitioning over to Agile. And having that experience kind of showed me that even if a team has the best intentions at heart in a waterfall project, even if a client or a product owner has the best intentions at heart, waterfall just isn't really set up to, even when it's run incredibly efficiently and effectively, to produce strong, effective products that can be produced in an efficient way that makes great use of the company's resources, and also helps and also can find product market fit really quickly. It's just not configured that way. And that was one of the reasons why I personally really helped push Crema over to Agile project management about 4 years ago, when we started taking on larger projects ourselves and started running into some of these challenges. Our team couldn't service the clients in the way that we wanted to. Our clients would be intimidated by submitting change requests because it would mean you've got to wait 2 weeks until we can have a new contract and a new scope in place. So I think it can be incredibly ineffective when you're using waterfall and other kind of fixed mindset methodologies. So 5 stars, Agile project management.
5 out of 5 stars. I think that's a little lesser known fact that Crema was mainly, a waterfall shop for a while there, and you guys made the transition to Scrum and Agile, and it's been kind of a complete game changer for Crema.
Yeah, it's really helped us work better with our clients, and I would say it has been an enabler for us to take on larger engagements, more complex engagements, just because of the ways that breaking down complex problems comes easier and more naturally with an Agile methodology and mindset. I'm obviously incredibly biased on Agile, but I didn't know, Allison, if you had any weaknesses to consider of the Agile methodology or framework.
Yeah, so transparently, I haven't worked in waterfall. I have worked with organizations who have waterfall employed in other areas of their organization, but I haven't actually worked in it myself. So I only have experience with Agile, but I can also see some areas where it could go downhill. We mentioned one earlier. You can be a micromanager if you want to be. There are ways to kind of play the system and play what the true heart is of Agile and Scrum development, and that is the unfortunate truth. But I think that can be applied to any sort of product management methodology or infrastructure framework. There are a lot of ways where you have to trust your gut, you have to trust your team, you have to trust your end users and stakeholders to help determine solutions for problems. That is a really big bonus, and that can also be a really big pitfall if you don't have the right people in place. Decisions can be made, or the wrong voice can be kind of the key voice that's speaking in the room, and a direction could be the wrong direction that you're going due to that. You have to have a really good team in place so that you can have all of the voices speaking to the direction and the goals of the product. Otherwise, you definitely could go down a rabbit hole and be unsuccessful. It happens on occasion, and maybe it happens more than I see, but it's definitely something to be aware of, especially when you're building up your product team.
Yeah, absolutely. I think to add to that, just one other maybe weakness of the Agile methodology could be you don't have like a firm committed deadline of like, say, a release date. Some stakeholders, or a product owner or investors might want, which, to be fair, is expected. You want to know what you're going to get, right? But at the same time, at least in my experience of practicing waterfall projects, like, you might have that, but it really just becomes like theater at that point. Like, you commit to something, the whole team buys into it, but the challenge that maybe a lot of you watching understand is that when you're a couple months into a complex waterfall project, then things just start to change, because that's the nature of software development. Yep. New requests come in for new features. We learn new feedback from users. There's like unforeseen technical challenges that no matter how much technical discovery we did up front, we can't handle. There's just all these complexities that will throw that timeline off anyways. But that as a weakness of Agile methodology, I think can actually be a strength if the team figures out a way to manage and communicate what the Agile methodology means upfront.
Exactly, yeah.
Do you want the role of project manager in an Agile project?
Sure, I'll take a whack at that.
Gosh, okay.
Ugh. Set me up for failure here.
Cool. I felt like that was a really great intro. Look at like just the awkwardness of this question and the challenges with it. So.
Oh, I don't want to answer this. I really hope that you use this, because this is exactly how anybody feels, right?
Yeah.
The role of a product or project manager in Agile. You know what? Again, this is the worst answer I can give, but it's the honest to goodness truth. Is like, depends on where you're at, depends on the team that you're on. My title has been different everywhere that I've worked that has run Agile product management. My responsibilities have been very much the same. So I would say that do not get dead set on the title that you're given, and do not get dead set on other people's assumptions of what that title means. As a PM in digital product management within an Agile environment, my responsibilities are, very similar to that of what some people might call a product owner, or what some people might call a project manager, or a business analyst, or anything that you can possibly think of, right? Like, it's like the biggest eye roll of my life, and when people try to assume that your title is really definitive of what you're doing in product management. We see the projects from start to finish. We write stories, we work with developers, we work with designers, we work with our clients, we pass feedback, updates, we plan and schedule and basically see the life of the product from beginning to end. We like to think of ourselves as the COO of a product. And so that's the really, really abbreviated version of it. But I would say that if you're doing something similar, call yourself what you want. You are the COO of the product.
Yeah, and I think just to add to that as well, like the complexities and the differences and how the role changes, not only at like different companies, but also at the same company too. As a company or a team evolves, like the role is going to change. Even the life cycle stage of a project, it's going to change too. What that does is it really, what I've observed in talking to a lot of PMs over the years, is that it also has the unfortunate, or I would say maybe humbling side effect of imposter syndrome. So because you wear so many hats and you often change out those hats in a PM career, you may be like, well, what am I doing? Am I process managing? Am I managing team members? Am I managing scope? I don't know, but I think that kind of, when I think about that and I talk to other PMs about this, I think like, okay, just kind of step back and look at the Agile manifesto. Look at how it talks first and foremost about people over process. Right. Like right there, it's like focus on people, focus on how you're interacting with your team, be a servant leader, and things are going to change and you're going to wonder like, what am I doing at the end of most days? But if you follow that, like that kind of that frame of mind, I think I think that you'll be incredibly successful as a project manager using Agile.
And lean into the differences that you'll see, right? Like the basis of what you're doing could very likely be similar depending on the companies that you're in, but the differences are, that is your time to grow and experiment and learn. Like this last week, I learned how to use Webflow. Why do I need to learn how to use Webflow? I don't, but my client and my project needed help. And so, you know what? That is a learning opportunity. That's a time for me to grow my own personal skill set. And so if you're encouraged or excited by the possibility of learning new things or wearing different hats all the time, being a PM is probably right for you, right? Like there's a lot of beauty to all the different things that we get the privilege of learning to do every day.
Absolutely. I've always loved the metaphor that the PM role is kind of like a pipe that everything goes through, not in a gatekeeper sense. No way, not like a gatekeeper sense. Don't do that. But more in a way of you're always trying to make sure that the environment and everything is working and that the team is just moving ahead really smoothly. And so you get to kind of touch and see and interact with a lot of moving pieces and parts. You're not directly responsible for executing anything in particular. Again, that may change depending on the company or the team, but it's really fulfilling, at least for myself, to be able to do things like what you did, like learn Webflow. That's awesome. So we hope that this video helped answer some of your questions and challenges about Scrum. If you want to learn more, check out below the video and you can reach out to us and learn more about Scrum. We'd be happy to engage in any conversations. I'm actually out in the Washington, D.C. area. So if any of you DC PMs want to connect, don't hesitate to let me know.
Don't forget to like and subscribe. Hit us up in the comments below. We would love to chat. Thanks for watching.
Thanks.